Luigi, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk all about the Series 10 meta. Who are the most popular Pokemon and how can you counter them with your own team? So be sure to stick around if you want to know how to take care of that dang Incineroar. Okay, so we're going to talk about the top 5 Pokemon in Series 10 right now, starting with number 5 and going all the way up to number 1, found in almost 70% of all teams. Obviously, you can guess who that is because you can see it right here on the screen, but that's Incineroar. So stick around if you want to know how to deal with Incineroar. So number 5 is Landorus Incarnate, and since the Crown Tundra released last year, Landorus has been at the top of usage charts pretty much the entire time for a few different reasons. He's fast, he's got a great attack stat, and he has great typing for coverage against a lot of meta threats and ground flying. In fact, he has stab super effective attacks against all of the other 4 Pokemon on this list. But unlike previous VGC series, this time around it's Landorus' Incarnate form that is being used more than the Landorus Therian form. This is probably because without access to Dynamax, flying type moves are a lot less beneficial since they don't give you that speed boost. And Landorus I is a much better special attacker than a physical attacker, and it doesn't really have good access to a special flying type move. So until now, it's never been super viable in VGC on Gen 8. However, the ability Sheer Force can lead to giant damage outputs. And as you can see, 99% of people using Landorus I are using the Sheer Force form and not the Sand Force ability. So the Sheer Force ability passively increases the damage of moves with secondary effects by 1.3 times. Keep in mind that you'll lose access to the secondary effects, but the increase in damage more than makes up for it. Additionally, Sheer Force will negate the recoil from Life Orb, essentially giving you another 1.3 times passive damage boost without having to take the drawback that the recoil from Life Orb gives you. So, all that said, what's the best way to counter Landorus? Well, the Pokemon is very strong and it's very fast, but it has a huge Achilles heel. It is 4 times weak to ice. So just make sure you have a Pokemon with an ice move that's faster than Landorus and you're good to go. The choice that I use on my team is Galarian Darmanitan. It's incredibly strong and paired with the Choice Scarf as its item, it's definitely going to outspeed those opposing Landoruses. Make sure you keep in mind, though, that almost every Landorus runs Protect, so it would be an incredibly easy read on turn 1 to tell that your Darmanitan is going to try to attack the Landorus. So keep in mind that you may have to play a little bit of mind games to get around that. Next up is Urshifu Rapid Strike form. This is the Water Fighting type Urshifu, not the Dark Fighting type. It's interesting that the Rapid Strike form is more popular in the meta right now than its Single Strike form, because in past series it was almost always the Single Strike form that was more popular. This is likely because we're seeing sort of a rise in usage of Focus Sash just a little bit, and the move Surging Strike hits opponents 3 times, each time with a guaranteed critical hit. So multi-hit moves like that can be really effective against opponents using Focus Sash, because unlike a single hit move, they can possibly OHKO opposing Pokemon, whether they have Focus Sash or not. So when you're facing either form of Urshifu, it's really important to remember that its ability, Unseen Fist, basically makes Protect useless for you. So Urshifu can deal damage with moves that make physical contact, which is basically every move an Urshifu runs, even if the target is protected. And previously, the Dynamax move Max Guard could still block an attack from an undynamaxed Urshifu, but in Series 10 we can't Dynamax, so we no longer have access to Max Guard. So, what's the best way to counter Urshifu? Well, since Urshifu has access to the priority move Aqua Jet, and most Urshifus do run that move, it can be helpful to have moves with a higher priority, like Triage Comfey with Draining Kiss and or Giga Drain. They're both super effective against Water Urshifu, or Fake Out. Grassy Glide can also be useful against Water Urshifu because it's priority and it's super effective, but Urshifu will outspeed Rillaboom every time, so Aqua Jet will still go before Grassy Glide. So just keep that in mind if you have any water-weak Pokemon on the field. So number 3 is Regieleki, and since its introduction as part of the Crown Tundra DLC, Regieleki has been an extremely popular Pokemon in VGC. It is the fastest Pokemon ever. It has 200 base speed, and it has access to some incredibly powerful electric type moves, as well as speed control in the form of the move Electro Web. Additionally, Regieleki's ability Transistor increases the damage inflicted by its electric type moves by 50%. That's a damage equivalent to a Choice Specs, but you don't have the restriction of having to pick only the same move every single turn. Now, that ability Transistor is very commonly paired with Magnet. Magnet increases the power of electric type moves by a further 20%. So Regieleki really packs a punch. Something to watch out for though is that about half of Regielekis run Focus Sash because it is incredibly frail and quite easy to OHKO with even neutral typed moves. So Rillaboom paired with Calyrex Shadow, again, working from my experience on my current rental team for Series 10, is almost an even better counter though, because Fake Out can break any Focus Sash that might be there and prevent Regieleki from moving on turn 1 because it is faster than Calyrex. And then Calyrex gets a safe opportunity to Astral Barrage, which is a guaranteed OHKO against any Regielekis with no special defense investment. So number 2 is Rillaboom, and Rillaboom is the most popular Gen 8 starter in competitive doubles VGC. Now, Rillaboom's ability, Grassy Surge, sets grassy terrain for the battle for 5 turns, and that's great because Rillaboom also gets the move Grassy Glide, which you can see almost every Rillaboom runs. Grassy Glide on grassy terrain gets priority. +1, meaning that it'll go before most moves. That gives you speed control on your side to help take down opposing Pokemon before they can even attack you. Something to keep in mind is that most Rillabooms do run Assault Vest, meaning they can't protect, but they're also going to be much more specially bulky, so you want to make sure that you're attacking opposing Rillabooms with physical attackers. Something else to keep in mind is that Rillaboom does normally run Fake Out, so if you're coming up against an opposing Rillaboom, make sure that you're accounting for the possibility of Fake Out on turn 1. So, what's the best way to counter Rillaboom? Well, if you have a faster Fake Out user, perhaps a Rillaboom of your own that's just a little bit faster, you can just Fake Out Rillaboom turn 1 so it can't fake you out, or so that it can't get a priority Grassy Glide off on you. And Rillaboom is a grass type, so it's weak to fire, flying, and ice. My personal Rillaboom counter on my Series 10 team at the moment is, again, Galarian Darmanitan. It's an ice type, and it's a physical attacker, so it's not going to be affected by that Assault Vest on the Rillaboom, and it just really packs a punch. And of course, I know y'all have been waiting for it, what is the best way to counter the #1 most used Pokemon seen on almost every single team you come across on the ladder? That darn Incineroar. Well, let's look at Incineroar first. Incineroar's most common moves are Fake Out, Flare Blitz, and Parting Shot. Its ability is Intimidate. So its goal is not so much to do damage to your Pokemon, it's more meant to be a nuisance, a support Pokemon, to hinder your ability to do damage to their Pokemon. So they'll usually Fake Out turn 1, that way your biggest threat cannot move. And then they might cycle out with Parting Shot. They'll use Parting Shot to lower your special attack and physical attack, remove themselves from the field, and then the next turn they'll come right back in and get another Intimidate on you. So they're really a big threat to physical attackers. Typically, they run things like a berry to make them even bulkier and harder to kill. They might run safety goggles so they don't have to worry about things like Spore or Sleep Powder. So, what's the best way to counter Incineroar? On my team right now, I'm countering Incineroar with Rillaboom. So if you look at Incineroar's speed, its base speed is 60. At level 50, which is the level that VGC battles are fought at, Incineroar will max out at 123 speed. So my Rillaboom has a speed of 124 at level 50, and that means that there is no Incineroar that can outspeed my Rillaboom. So what I could do, turn 1, if I'm worried about Incineroar faking out my partner and making it unable to move, I will use my Rillaboom and Fake Out the Incineroar. Basically, we just trade Fake Outs. My Rillaboom fakes out Incineroar. Incineroar was probably going to fake out my partner, but doesn't get to because it flinches. After I Fake Out the Incineroar, what I do a lot of the times is go for a knockoff or a high horsepower for my Rillaboom. So knockoff can be really helpful to get rid of those berries before Incineroar gets a chance to eat it. And high horsepower is super effective against Incineroar. Another good potential counter to Incineroar is a Pokemon like Milotic. So Milotic doesn't have a lot of usage in Series 10 right now. It's only about 2%. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that Rillaboom is so common and a Grassy Glide will kill most Milotics in one hit. But Milotic gets the ability Competitive. That means that when one of its stats is lowered by the opposing Pokemon, its special attack rises by 2 stages. That doubles its special attack. And as we all know, Incineroars always run Intimidate, which will lower your Milotic's attack. It's a special attacker, it doesn't need its attack stat, and raise its special attack stat by 2. So now Incineroar is looking in the face of a Pokemon that has just had its special attack stat doubled and has super effective moves against it. So again, that was just a quick rundown of the top 5 Pokemon in Series 10 right now. Interestingly enough, none of them were a restricted legendary. So if you'd like to see me make a video all about the top restricted legendaries in Series 10 and how to deal with them, leave a like so that I know that you want to see a video like that. If you have any questions or any comments or feedback, be sure to leave a comment down below so I can talk to you about it. And if you want to see more videos like this one, subscribe to my channel. That's all from me today, and I'll see y'all later. Bye!